What's going on, NBA 2K fans? This is Pete Toll, aka PT Sports 84, back with another video, and just highlighting today's NBA 2K23 official roster update. It's been a few days since we've had any um, roster updates, kind of updating some of the player transactions. The biggest thing in this update, obviously, is Quinn Snyder to the Atlanta Hawks. So let's jump right to that. As you can see here, Quinn Snyder is here as the Hawks head coach. Pick and roll offense is his offensive focus. That's kind of what he has been known for in the past. We'll see how that translates to the Hawks. Quinn Snyder is more of a coach that adapts to his players rather than running a specific system. Obviously, he wants things done a certain way, but overall, he adapts kind of to what his personnel is. So it'll be interesting to see over the next, couple weeks. What 6 weeks left of the season, plus the play in or playoffs, depending on where the Hawks fall. Where Quinn Snyder can get this team, especially all the kind of drama surrounding Trae Young, the signing of DeJounte Murray, health of DeAndre Hunter. How does John Collins fare as far as his injury to his hand, especially that finger? Um, just integrating back into the lineup. How do they get Sadiq Bey and Bogdanovich off the bench to contribute? Just all those kinds of things. It'll be interesting for Atlanta. I think it's a good hire. Ime Udoka would have been my other choice for the Hawks, but I think Ime gets a couple looks from various teams throughout the offseason. We'll see what kind of shakes free. But yeah, so they put Quinn Snyder in. Joe Prunty's back as the lead assistant. And then Mike Longobardi is now back in as the shot doctor. Kind of how it was before under Nate McMillan. They just kind of reverted everything back now that Quinn Snyder is installed as the head coach. So, um, jumping into player transactions, first thing I want to highlight, I don't think many people noticed. I caught it, just randomly as I was going through my own roster, just kind of tweaking some stuff. 2K had not updated a couple players that were signed recently. So the updated jerseys numbers, Justin Holiday is number 0. He was previously in the game as number 14. And then Olivier Sarr, who had signed on a two-way contract, was number 31. He's actually number 30. So they updated those two things, got those in. I had sent over the feedback, and so glad that got in. And then we jump into player transactions overall. So there's a couple of them, sprinkled throughout the roster. They finally got Tony Bradley waived to the free agent pool, so he's no longer on the Chicago Bulls. That's one of them. They did not update the contract for Bryce McGowens. He signed a 4-year, $7.4 million contract. Year 1 and 2 are fully guaranteed, but year 3 is non guaranteed, and year 4 is a team option. They still haven't updated that contract there. The Sacramento Kings waive KZ Okpala and sign PJ Dozier. Dozier, for those that remember, was actually on a 10-day contract, 2 10-day contracts rather, previously with Sacramento Kings, had actually gotten into the games and produced. So he's back there. We got Trevor Keels converted to a standard contract. Converted to a 10-day contract. We'll see what happens. The news just broke a few minutes ago that Dwayne Washington Jr. Is actually signing a 2-way contract with the Knicks. So Keels will either have to stick past that 10-day contract, or he'll get waived outright, and they'll just kind of fluctuate with that roster spot. Interesting enough, they did designate an injury for LeBron James. They didn't pick a lot of injuries to add to the game throughout. Like, if you look at players that are injured throughout, like they got LaMelo because unfortunately LaMelo broke his ankle. That was unfortunate. It looks like he's going to be out for the rest of the year. Obviously, now Charlotte, what do they do? Because they won, uh, 5 games. So now they're still bad, but now they can really go into tank mode for Wembanyama or whoever they want to go for. I don't think Scoot Henderson necessarily fits on this team. But they got that injury in. But some other ones that are smaller injuries, like Colin Sexton and stuff like that, they did not get because Sexton is really only out for 7 to 10 days, and then he'll return. So they didn't touch on those. It looks like they only got the season-ending injuries or ones that are fairly significant. We don't know what LeBron's injury timetable is going to be. Probably 2 to 6 week range, somewhere in there. It could fall anywhere in there, honestly, but we'll see what happens. Michael Carter Williams makes his return to the NBA. He was, out of the NBA last year, injuries, stuff like that. He was signed by the Orlando Magic to a 2-year contract. He's actually number 11, so 2K did not see the note as jersey 11. I don't know how that got missed, but is what it is. Carey, unfortunately, no retro stuff in this one. I did not look at the errors. I'll check that out at the end of the video. But looking through the roster as far as this goes, like the historic teams, no, they didn't update anything. But yeah, Michael Carter Williams gets signed as a locker room voice more so than anything else. What's up, everybody? Johnny, um, you know, I look at Michael Carter Williams as a guy that I guess he can mentor a little bit, like Jalen Suggs and guys like that. Younger team is what it is. It's the route they wanted to go. I mean, I'm not going to hate on Michael Carter Williams for getting his money. They don't have the correct contract here for Michael Carter Williams because he signed a standard deal based on the NBA minimum on his experience is 2.6 million. And then he has a team option for next year for 2.65 million. We'll see if 2K updates that at some point. They're usually a little bit slow. Unfortunately, whenever it comes to contracts, things like that, I will send it along and hope that it gets updated. Bring back the past. I'm a kind of a hater. How do you figure that, man? Because of LeBron? I don't get it, man. I think everybody's entitled to their opinion on each team and players and stuff like that. We'll see what happens with the Lakers and all that stuff. Otherwise I don't know what I'm hating on, man, to be honest. Um, let's see. Going through the Detroit Pistons reach a buyout agreement with Nerlens Noel. They bring in RJ Hampton. We'll see how he integrates into the point guard rotation, as that's kind of where he's going to play as a backup point guard. It is what it is. Not a needle mover by any means for the Pistons. I think they're going to want to go backwards and tank, make sure they can kind of get in that Wembanyama sweepstakes as well. They got Cade Cunningham healthy next year with Ivy. I think that's a good mix overall. We'll see what happens. Houston Rockets. The biggest thing for them is they get Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. back. Both of them are looking to play in the next game. Willie Cauley-Stein was signed to a 10-day contract from the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. We'll see what happens if he gets any playing time. They already got guys like Kaminsky and Marjanovic. I didn't really understand the Cauley-Stein signing, but it is what it is. Mars, I'm not sure anything about the retro stuff, man. I want it as bad as you guys do with Marcus All, Luol Deng, and stuff like that. There's no info on that. I don't have any insight or anything like that. I can only send the feedback along. I can't really, obviously as a um, game enthusiast as everyone else. I don't have any influence on when guys get added. I can only send along info on who should be added to what teams, stuff like that. Also, I can only reach out to the past MEA players and try to get them in touch with the right people to get into the game. There's a long red tape process when it comes to getting into 2K. It's not just a simple of, hey, this guy wants in. All right, cool. You sign the documents, next day you're in. It's not how it works. Um, I'm not going to dive into like details, but overall, that's not how it works. Carrie, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to ask about that. I'm wondering myself if it's this week or next. Based on last year, the update was like the 23rd, which was like after All Star break, which was kind of weird. This year it was before All Star break, but they did have one 2 weeks later, which one of those weeks in between was the week that teams were out basically for 4 days. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll have one or not. It's either going to be this Thursday or next Thursday. Kind of hope it's this Thursday, but we'll see what happens overall. But continuing with the roster update, Ishmael Wainwright got an update. He actually did get a contract update, which is weird because his contract was updated, um, whereas others weren't. But he was converted to a standard contract. We'll see what route they go to fill that second um, two-way contract overall. Oklahoma City Thunder, they had converted Eugene Amarui previously on the 10th of February, but then they now have waived him, and they ended up moving Lindy Waters III, converted him to a standard contract. He is not updated with a new contract, but he is on um, a rest of the year deal plus a team option for next year. Now they can fill another two-way spot, whoever they want to go with. I don't know that Lindy Waters stays on the team long term. They might rotate him out, kind of like what they did with Marui, because they paid him extra money to incentivize him to convert. Hugo, I'll check Kenny Satterfield when I get done. I'm almost done with going through the rosters. And that's, pretty much it as far as contracts go. They did not update the contract for Jordan Goodwin either. Goodwin signed a 3-year deal, rest of the year deal with a prorated amount, partial guarantee for year 2, which is next season, and then a team option for year 3. Kind of enables them to play him on summer league, let him come to camp, and then see what shakes out. It's all going to depend on Johnny Davis and where his development is, I think. Um, but again, if you go through the roster as far as injuries go, key guys that they took injuries off: Cameron Payne, Kevin Durant is now available if you play online. Play now online. I mentioned Kevin Porter Jr. for the Rockets. OG Anunoby has been back for a couple games. He finally got his injury removed. Marvin Bagley played behind James Wiseman last night at center since Jalen Duren's been out with an ankle injury. Bagley was removed. Injury was removed as well. Dyson Daniels, injury removed. He's out of the rotation for the Pelicans, but we'll see what happens. Um, I'm not sure, Jay. Carrie had asked me the same thing with the ratings update. I'm not sure, uh, things like that. Edmond, when you get a chance, go into the details about the coaches settings like lineup system, proficiency, preferences, and zone. I can do that real quick at the end of the video. Just kind of what I know, little bit I know about it. We have the Dallas Mavericks. Maxi Kleber is his injury was removed, so they went ahead and removed that. We got Mitchell Robinson for the Knicks. How about the Knicks? Now they get Josh Hart, they're 5-0 since they've gotten him. Cutting into RJ Barrett's time. Barrett just hasn't looked that great. Is not playing closing lineups. Josh Hart is. Josh Hart's the kind of player that plays defense that Tibbs likes. So we'll see how that works out going forward. Kelly Oubre Jr. had his injury removed as well. He likely steps into the starting lineup with Terry Rozier switching to point guard. That would be my guess moving forward for Charlotte. Depends on if they want to tank or not, but we'll see. And last but not least, injury designations removed Bobby Portis Jr. He's kind of been starting at power forward with Giannis being out with that wrist injury. He's in and out. Um, we'll see. One I'm keeping an eye on is Kyle Lowry because Lowry has missed time already. There's no timetable for his return. Another one that I'm looking at is Anthony Simons. Neither one of those guys were added to injury designations despite being out for extended time. Same with Gary Payton II. He needed an injury added as well, but didn't get it. We'll see what happens there. But let's look at, for example, I'll use Quinn Snyder since we've already talked about him with the coaching settings. These coaching settings are simulation based, um, as well as can be gameplay based. But you're basically looking at system proficiency preference is um, how a player adapts into um, the specific coach setting that's set, and it affects their minutes per game in the simulation part. And what I mean by that is if you go to a coach here, you have edit staff, and then you have a tab called team style. Team style is based off of the styles here, which is different categories, kind of what they look at overall. But then you have to look at these systems here. Um, and what is interesting, so you have different options here is an active system, which is what they use now, and what their preferred system is. Preferred system is basically what they're good at. It has to tie into these ratings here. These are not done very well, in my opinion. I try not to be too overly critical when it comes to these, just because they haven't. A lot of coaches haven't been changed in years. Um, but you want to set these based on what a coach does well, what he doesn't do well, and then line it up based on the players. When you go into my GM, it'll say based on system proficiency, the specific players fit that system, and then it'll have a star system based on how well or how not how they don't fit basically into the offense. So that's how that works overall, and you can customize um, these sliders, points of emphasis, stuff like that. The points of emphasis here, I forgot who the user on Operation Sports is, who does these every year. I can't think of his name right off the bat, but you can look it up. Just type in points POEs and look at how these are affected when it comes to simulation for my NBA and stuff like that. So um, MJK94, yes, I have. Um, you're asking if I have a roster with the G League, all-time team stuff like that. Yes, when the next ratings update comes out, whenever that is, if it's this Thursday or next Thursday, I have G League players already ready to go to throw into the roster. Then I just have to take the historic rosters and fill those in, and then the all-time teams to throw those in. So I will have a custom roster with updated stuff. That'll be my last roster of the season. I went ahead and did a lot of appearance updates for the G League players, so they look correct now. I updated them as of like earlier like over the weekend, and got those guys correct on teams and stuff like that. We have some like new faces and stuff like that, like Nate Darling and stuff for the Ontario Clippers, guys like that. Alfred Payton's now on the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, stuff like that. So um, that's that. That'll be out either Friday of this week if there's an update on Thursday, possibly Saturday, depending on how much time I have with work and stuff, or next week, depending on um, where that ratings update falls. But let's real quick before I wrap this up, let's look and see if they updated Kenny Satterfield. I doubt it, but I'm sometimes optimistic, but We'll see. He is not. As you can see, he's still generic. Usually, what happens is when they update the all-time teams or historic teams, they'll update the eras teams at the same time. Um, yeah. What's up, John? Yeah, if that rating update comes out, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if it's going to be this week or not. Based on, like I said earlier, I don't know if you caught it, John, but I think last year, if I remember correctly, they did like right after All Star. It was weird. It came out like on a Wednesday, like the 23rd or something, and then they did another drop like 2 weeks later, which didn't make a whole lot of sense because they kind of lumped in the week that All Star was like the players were out. So I don't know. This year because they did it before All Star, maybe they'll do it, but they're missing a week because the players didn't play till Thursday. So they're updating basically the Thursday before because the update came out on Friday this year. They're updating that Thursday's games and then Thursday, Friday of last week, and then up until Tuesday, basically of this week, because they don't count Wednesday's games either. So I'd expect it probably to be next week because it'd give them more time to get games compiled and stuff like that. So um, that is my guess. It'll be next Thursday that an update comes out, but don't hold me to that. So yeah, 17th, 10th, 31st. Oh, I was thinking, okay, it came out on the 17th. Okay, I was thinking for some reason it came out on the 23rd. So it did come out earlier. I was thinking for some reason it dropped later last year for whatever reason. They went 3 weeks after All Star. Okay, so that makes sense. So they probably won't have something because they'll want it to group into the end of the season. So if you did next week, you'd still have to have one on the 23rd. So if they waited till the 16th, you would do the 30th, I guess, for the end of the year roster potentially. Because the end of the season's on what, the 9th of April? So, I mean, I guess that, fits overall. So, yeah. Maybe next week, maybe the week after. Who knows? Either the 9th or the 16th, I guess, would probably be the best way to put it. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it is what it is on this update. You know, like I said, not a big update, but anybody looking for retro stuff? No, we're still missing Marcus All, Luol Deng, Chucky Atkins, Caldwell Jones, Jose Calderon, like guys like that. Not in the roster. It's been passed along a while ago. So whether that gets updated or when it gets updated, I don't know. But, we will see. Um, Interesting enough, they did get some injuries removed. They didn't add all the injuries they needed to add, but it is what it is. And that's it. So hope everybody enjoyed this video. Everybody that's watching, if you could hit the like button, I'd really appreciate it. It helps me a lot. Um, John, no. Have they been updating ratings for the era rosters? Not that I know of. They at the beginning of the year they had a few light touches to stuff, like the first. When the game come out, like September 9th or something, like the 20th or somewhere around that range. They had like a couple guys sprinkled in. Um, they updated some of the historic players throughout. Like Raja Bell got a touch up, Kevin Ollie got a touch up, stuff like that. Um, but the eras stuff, not as much. But they touched up some of the historic stuff, like you mentioned. Michael Williams. I know they touched up, like I said, Raja Bell and some other guys throughout, but nothing major across the board or anything like that. They should, but we'll see. Um, Another emphasis that they have kind of skimped on this year. They updated really, really well at the beginning of the year for shoe brands and shoe models. Not so much lately. I've passed that info on. Every single shoe for every player that needs to be updated. Whether that gets updated, I don't know. I've passed it on. That info was given to me by someone that takes the shoe stuff very seriously, and updates quite often. So really, it wasn't my work; it was someone else's that I passed along. I checked for accuracy first, but we'll see what happens with 2K. Um, and then pretty much that's it. Like, I mean, otherwise, I don't know that there's a whole lot to you know 2K other areas to update and stuff like that. Like, you can nitpick about renders and who needs to be updated and stuff like that. The ratings guys don't have any say over that. Half the time, I don't even know that they have time for some of their um, own rating stuff. I don't think they get. I think they're handcuffed to a certain degree. John, I missed your. I caught the tail end of Rob Jones there, but I didn't catch the beginning. I was looking over it, my notes, making sure I covered everything in the video. Sorry if I missed the first part of it. Um, but yeah, they if anybody's looking for the retro stuff, there's a ton of it. Draft classes included. The draft classes, a quick way you can always check for the draft classes. I'll give you guys just a quick hint to look at draft classes. Go to the 99 draft class and see if Andrei Kirilenko is added. That'll tell you basically, you know, yes or no in a sense, because Kirilenko was added right after the game released in a roster update, and he was not added into the draft classes. There's literally over 100 players that need to be added to the draft classes in various years. Um, there's a ton of stuff off about players, vitals, and things like that that need to be updated. Literally, like, you could spend a couple days just going off of what I sent feedback wise. And that's not counting anything anybody else has submitted that I know of. So probably about 40 players that need shoe brand updates, maybe 35 to 40 players. Shoe model updates, there's literally like probably minimum 5 per each team, if not more, that need the shoe model updates. So we'll see what happens, um, you know, going forward. So we're getting towards the end of the year. Less is updated after I think the next rating update. That's pretty much, there's one more after that, and that's it. So not much to update as they transition to 2K24. But as I mentioned earlier, if you like this kind of content, please hit that like button. It really helps me a lot. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel. Whenever there's a roster update that's significant, I try to post a little video and get it out while I have free time. And if there is a ratings update on Thursday, I will post another video. If there's anything retro added, I will post another video. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys next week if there's anything significant that comes out. Take care.